Coming up on today's show, we will spend a few moments talking about a worldwide outreach known as Operation Christmas Child. Join the City is a program highlighting people and organizations having an impact in our city. All too often, we hear about the problems and dysfunctions in our culture, but we are coming from a different approach as we take a look at the good things going on right here in our community. I'm Bethany Marshall, and you're about to see what God is doing in our city. We want to thank our program sponsors, Cohn for their donation of furniture used in our studio, Taylor Design and Events for beautifully decorating our studio space, and our platinum sponsor, Harry's Construction, for their ongoing support of Join the City. You may be familiar with the shoebox outreach of Operation Christmas Child, but are you aware of the expansive reach and impact this has on thousands of people? As we revisit this Christmas story, our correspondent, Teresa Miller, talks with a few of the leadership team to fill us in on the inspiration of this organization.
So, as far as Operation Christmas Child, we're taking an object and filling it with other objects to reach kids and adults all over the world. Explain that program to us.
Well, Operation Christmas Child, all you have is a great project because it's so simple. It's so easy, and kids as young as 2 can get involved. Even 1 can get involved with Operation Christmas Child. And people, we have had numerous opportunities to see people who are over 100 working with Operation Christmas Child. So it's just like this really neat project that you can be involved with by taking something that you might have in your closet right now, an empty shoebox, and pack it with gifts and things that you know children would like, anywhere from the ages of 2 all the way up to 14, and things that they would need for school, or toys, or a stuffed animal, health and beauty aids, anything like that that you can take and send clothing for them, and pack that in anything that would fit in a shoebox, get it together, and it goes to over 114 different countries around the world. And that's a pretty neat opportunity to be involved in missions right here, just very simply.
Right from your home.
Yes.
Right from your home, you know. We were talking earlier about the cost of filling a shoebox, and it can range in the $20 to $25 range, you know, price range. But the flip side is, I can't go to Uganda or Rwanda or anywhere. I can't go anywhere outside of the United States for $25. But for $25, I can send a box somewhere around the world that will impact a child, who will impact his family, who can impact his village or his town. So they estimate that the impact of a shoebox is anywhere from, what, 5 to 7 people?
They've increased it to 9 now.
Okay, 5.
So one shoebox can impact 5 to 9 people with the gospel.
And when you multiply that by the number of shoeboxes that have gone out just in 1 year, let alone in the 25 years that Operation Christmas Child has been going, that impact is enormous.
For 25 years now, one ministry has captured the hearts and minds of people, young and old. Packing shoebox gifts full of love and prayer has touched countless lives through the power of a simple gift. From generation to generation, it's nothing but good news, great joy. This is Operation Christmas Child.
To open up a simple box with gifts in it means everything in the world. Of course, for us, it gives great joy, but not nearly as much as what these kids are getting.
Christmas gifts for everyone in a place where not a single child expected them.
Some of them are receiving the gifts for the very first time.
brings a lot of joy, and it gives the church an opportunity to tell them about God's love.
It's one of the most efficient ways to see the Great Commission enacted. It's changing the globe.
Now, the box starts at my house. I fill this box with items that are on a list, and then where does it go?
Well, you want,
I'll take it.
you want to go?
I'll take it. From your house, it goes to a drop-off center, which is usually, not always, but usually a church close, in close proximity to where you live. From there, it goes on a huge truck to any one of several processing centers around the country. Our processing center happens to be in Baltimore. So that box goes in a carton, goes on a truck, goes to Baltimore. In Baltimore, it's processed to make sure that everything that needs to be there is there, and that, because sometimes people overlook what needs to go in and what shouldn't go in, and you'll find things that shouldn't be in there. It reaches the country where it's intended to go. It can be anywhere from Burundi to Bahamas, which some of our boxes have gone to, as our family boxes have gone to. Once it gets in country, it can go on anything from a canoe to a raft to a camel to on the back of a person to the particular church or missionary or group that's going to be distributing those shoe boxes in country. So that's the journey of the shoebox.
Part of that journey, I feel there has to be some coverage, so to speak, of that box before it ever leaves the United States. Are these boxes prayed over?
They will say, we say, and Operation Christmas Child says that that's the most important thing that can go into a shoebox is prayer. They are very specific, and we have a prayer team coordinator who prays over the project in the area, and of course they do that on a national level, but we really encourage families to pray over their boxes and to pray for them even after they've gone out. Pray for the people who are going to be receiving the box, and the Lord is very faithful in answering those prayers.
God answered my prayer, and I felt so happy.
Por lo que orábamos, entonces, pero después ya se iba un poco más así arreglando. De entonces sí empezamos a salir yo, mis hermanos, así mi mami. Y que Dios nos ha ayudado tanto en nuestra familia que ya vivimos más felices.
We learned about God's word, and we prayed. It brings this feeling to my heart that yes, God exists and He hears our prayers. Jesus loves me, yes!
Now the boxes are filled with a lot of times everyday items that we take for granted on a daily basis that we don't even think about. We're just blessed to have them, and we don't even think about it. How do these everyday items reach the heart of an individual, of a little kid in a country that I probably will never see this child?
That's probably the most exciting part of the story. Franklin Graham wrote a book a few years ago. I don't remember the title of it now, but it's the story of Operation Christmas Child is really what it is. And it's just story after story after story of things that were in a shoebox. One of the things that you'll read on the brochure is to put in a wow item, which we usually think of as being a stuffed animal or a toy or something along that line. The stories of things that to the child are the wow item blow my mind. Something as simple as a washcloth, because the kiddo receiving it is in an orphanage and everybody in the building shares the same washcloth. We can't imagine that, because here each person in the family has their own. We had a gal at our church a year ago. It was a toothbrush for her, to have her own toothbrush that she didn't have to share with anybody else.
She shared with 12 people in the orphanage that she was in Guatemala. 12 girls shared a toothbrush. So when they got their boxes, each box had a toothbrush, and they were thrilled. That was her most favorite thing, and that would be, like, to us, probably the thing that we would think they would appreciate the least. But those tend to be the items that are appreciated the most. There's a boy from Rwanda who got a comb and absolutely adored that comb, and he was so thrilled to have it.
There was a testimony on this year that we saw as part of the promotional, videos and things, of a kiddo who, with his mother, had been kicked out of school because he didn't have shoes to wear. And so they began praying for a pair of shoes. When he got his shoebox, there was a pair of shoes in there, and they were just his size. Okay. Those are God things. That's the kind of thing that God does.
And that's not an unusual story when it comes to Operation Christmas Child. You hear those things all of the time.
There was another story of a I mean, I could go on for a while, but there was another story. There was at one of the distributions, they went to a hospital, and there were 2 kiddos in a bed. There was a pair of shoes in the box. The kiddo had lost a leg. He only had 1 shoe, or had 1 foot. But the kiddo next to him had been born without a foot, and it was the other shoe. So 1 pair of shoes took care of 2 kids. Simple things, but that's the way God works with this project.
So needs are being met, kids are thrilled, getting items, God's meeting needs. But how does that open the door in their heart for that message to come in? And who relays that message?
Samaritan's Purse is very, very careful about making sure that each shoebox gift is an opportunity to share the gospel. So they partner with pastors and missionaries in all of the countries where the shoeboxes go. And when I say partner, they really take the time to train these people, to vet these people, to make sure that they are presenting the gospel with the shoeboxes. So what happens when the shoeboxes go to those countries, they're going to what we call national ministry partners, and they're going to them. A lot of times these ministry partners will contact Samaritan's Purse and ask them for shoeboxes that they can use to further the gospel in their community. And then Samaritan's Purse will work with them to get, all their training done and everything that they need to present the gospel well with the shoebox. So I think it's really important to note that these shoeboxes aren't just being handed out like candy, so to speak, like, hey, Merry Christmas, God loves you. They are very much a tool and a key to get the gospel into the hands of people in these countries where they're going. And once a shoebox is given out, they have a party or whatever the ministry partners decide to do. It could be a Christmas party for the kids. It could be any kind of celebration like that. They give the gifts out with the gospel. And when they get their shoebox, they are given the opportunity to sign up for a 12-week discipleship program called The Greatest Journey. And those people have been trained to teach the greatest journey, and it is pretty much presenting God's word from beginning to end and what that means and how it points to Jesus Christ and what he's done for them, and gives them the opportunity to learn more about God. And at the end of the greatest journey, they have a graduation ceremony, and they have little caps and gowns, and they're all presented with a Bible. And since 2009, when the Greatest Journey began, over 14 million students or children have participated in the Greatest Journey. So I think that the more that we have been presenting this project, the more we realize as we're able to share with people that this isn't just a gift, a tangible gift. This is so much more. It's not a humanitarian thing where all of the presents and things in the shoebox are fantastic, and we want them to be great because they represent Jesus Christ. But it's so much more than that. And when I start to think of it as a key that these ministry partners can use to unlock doors, maybe in countries that are closed to the gospel or into communities that are closed to hearing the gospel, when someone comes in and says, I have a gift for your child or for the children in your community, you're much more likely to say, hey, come on in. We want our kids to have gifts, And so with that comes the gospel. And I think as we've been sharing more about the Greatest Journey and helping people understand that this is something more than just toys and soap and a comb.
And it's not just a one-shot presentation.
Right.
There's follow-through there.
Yes.
There's the beginnings of discipleship. Those kids go through the greatest journey, they get fed in and plugged into the church or to the missionary, the individual who started with that Christmas shoebox. They plug into them, and that individual then gets to really plow into that kiddo, you know, and go further than just that first 12-week discipleship. It becomes, you know, a much greater thing than that. And churches are being established so that the gospel has an even greater outreach, you know. And then from those known countries, the gospel can go into unreached areas as well. You know, we heard the story of a Peruvian lady a couple of years ago go through what they do at the initial party. She went through and explained the gospel in a way that was relatable and understandable to that culture. So it's not just they're coming in and teaching about an American God. They're talking about the God of the universe, and they make it in a language and in a context that those kiddos can understand.
And that's why it's so important to partner with the ministry partners that are nationals to that country, or even a missionary who understands the culture.
Yeah. And then from there, she wasn't content to do it just in that village. She went up, she took some of the shoeboxes and went up into the mountains of Peru.
She was on canoe going down the Amazon.
Yes.
Yeah, she was into some tribes that had never heard the gospel. And she was taking them. I mean, you start to think about that, a tribe that's in the Amazon in the jungle, and here comes a lady with a bunch of brightly colored shoebox gifts, you know, and you're kind of like, what is that? You know, you think about how that all plays out and what a unique opportunity to share the gospel, because she had these shoeboxes. For her to just get on that canoe and go down or go up into the mountains or whatever and say, hey, I want to tell you about something, they might be like, what? But if you have something to give, that changes things, especially when you're giving it to children.
Anytime we reach the children, there's a double-edged thing there. It's hard to say no to kids. And let's face it, kids are the future, you know. Kids are the future. And so we're working to bring them to Christ so that they can go ahead and impact others and keep that kingdom thing going, you know. That's the whole object, is not to let the gospel die. And we know that that's not going to happen because God will take care of that. But nevertheless, we have a part in that, you know.
So Grace Bible has chosen Operation Christmas Child as their Christmas mission, so to speak.
I like to think that God has chosen Grace Bible.
Yes, I like that. Yes.
So.
And of all the things out there, because we're all doing something, just in your own words, why Operation Christmas Child?
Renee and I both have been involved in missions for a long time at Grace Bible Church, and I think that I can speak for her in saying that in looking at a lot of different ministry opportunities over the course of the last 25 years or 30 years or however long it's been, I don't know of a more far-reaching, impactful way to share the gospel with as many people as hear the gospel than through Operation Christmas Child. Like we said before, it's a simple way for people to get involved in their homes, in their churches, in their schools, in their workplaces. Every person who hears about Operation Christmas Child, I shouldn't say most every person that hears about Operation Christmas Child, it stirs something in you to think that I can take something as simple as a shoebox, put some things in it, and off it goes around the world through various ways, like Renee mentioned, and the gospel goes out with that. And then with that shoebox, 5 to 9 people hear the gospel. We've heard stories of a little boy who, well, one story in particular, it was of a little boy who got a shoebox, and they didn't have a church. It was someplace in Latin America. They didn't have a church, and they had a little party under a big tree. And he started a church because of the shoebox gift that he got. And they ended up building a church, and people came from all around to go to this church because of one shoebox gift. So when you hear the stories and you see how God works, and you see how God works on both sides of the box, the stories, like I was talking to you before we started filming about how it impacted your children, it's impacted my family on a very personal level. My daughter made a decision to follow Christ partially because of Operation Christmas Child and how she saw God work through that project at Grace Bible Church. And so you see the far-reaching implications of it. And I think, first of all, how can you not want to be involved? But secondly, it's so easy and it's so simple. And God has provided for Operation Christmas Child at Grace through some really incredible ways.
Incredible ways.
Yeah, ways that only can be explained by God's provision. Things happen there through that project that you're just, every year, different. There are different ways that God provides, but every year we're blown away by it. And I think that is why Grace has decided to, I mean, we've been working with Operation Christmas Child at Grace since 1998 in some form, way or another. And in 2010, we started packing large shoebox packing parties.
But it's a simple project, you know, simple things. There are people who are really good at shopping, and they get really good bargains on things. They're excellent people for filling shoe boxes.
So if anyone's listening to this and
job.
they have always wondered if their shopping was their gift, there's an opportunity right there.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a group of ladies at Grace that come in on Monday mornings and they crochet hats. And last year they did like 1,600 hats. And throughout the course of the year, so don't they get the opportunity to teach other people the art of crocheting or knitting, or they get to sit and just, you know, chat and do something.
So for this year, like, I'm excited about it just listening to you guys. Like, I'm doing the math in my head. 9 people per box times 10 boxes. That's how I'm looking at
There
this.
you
Okay?
go.
I've missed the deadline.
Right.
Is there another way that I can build a box or help in some way to...
There are actually 2 online ways that you can do, that you can still do something. One is what they call the Build a Box program, where for a donation of $35, you can send that to Samaritan's Purse, and they will actually build the box for you and send it out. Another way that you can help is just to send a dollar amount that's a multiple of 9, let's put it that way, okay, $9, $18, whatever. It's called Follow the Box, and you can send that down. There are boxes that come in all the time without shipping in them. And so the shipping costs, you know, helping to pay for and defray the costs of the shipping is also a way that you can do that. You can send a donation in of $9, $18, however much you want, and have a label that will, you know, that can be printed and put on that. And then if you give them your email address, they'll email you back where those boxes went. So one of the things that I do with our granddaughters, we'll do that. We'll pack boxes, and instead of putting the shipping in, I'll send it online and get an email back. And we've sent boxes to Burundi, to the Bahamas, to Honduras, and there's one other country that I can't remember. I've been trying to think of what it was, but there's been one other country, you know. For whatever that amount of money was, we've gone to 4 different countries with 3 or 4 or 5 boxes per country, you know. There's no way in the world I'm gonna get there, you know. I'm not traveling to Burundi, it's just not physically doable for me, you know. But boxes went there in our name, you know. And God gets the glory for that, because it's all His doing.
The concept we had of this program is just a fraction of what it truly is. Many work all year round to pull this together. This year alone, people from Blair and Cambria County packed and sent out 30,190 boxes. Even though Shannon and Renee wanted the narrative of this story to be about what God is doing through this ministry effort around the world, we were so impressed with the commitment those from Grace Bible Church and others have shown, and we wanted to give a glimpse of the behind-the-scenes process.
You never change. You are the God you say you are. When I'm afraid, you come and still my being.
just a distant thought. You take my pain and you lead me to the cross. What love is this that you gave your life for me and made a way for me to know you? And I confess you're always enough for me. You're all I need. I look to you. I see the scars upon your hands and hold the truth that when I can't, you always can. And standing here beneath the shadow of the cross, I'm overwhelmed that I keep finding open arms. What love is this that you gave your life for me and made a way for me to know you? And I confess you're always enough for me. You're all I need. Jesus, in your suffering, you were reaching. You thought of me. Jesus, in your suffering, you were reaching. You thought of me.
If you know a person or organization having an impact in our city, we want to hear about it. You can contact us at 814-944-1948 or by email at stories@jointhecity.org. That's all the time we have today. Thank you for watching Join the City True Stories. Let me encourage you to watch other episodes of people and organizations having an impact in our community on ABC 23 at 5:30 a.m. and 12:30 p.m. every Sunday. You can also catch us each week on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Until then, be encouraged because God is moving in our city.